Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show. Around the Nation right here. Jeff Waldorf here with you on this Wednesday afternoon. Welcome. Got a great show for you guys today. We have a big break in the case against Donald Trump on the emoluments clause. Then we have a bizarre interview in which Trump attacks his own Fed chairman. That's fun. Duncan Hunter is in some serious trouble when it comes to just new bombshell, just a bombshell in the case, right? I can't wait to get to that. That's some fun stuff. The Wayfair walkout that's happening right now, that's super awesome and great news. We're going to talk about that, of course. And then we have an interesting win in New York, another progressive district attorney. So that's good stuff. So we're gonna have a lot of fun with that, especially some of the Trump stuff, of course, but other fantastic news today. Plus, we have the first Democratic debate tonight. Interesting. So I'll be watching it alongside a lot of you. So I might do a little bit of live tweeting, probably not too much, as I'm trying to get in all the answers. Fun story, and I don't know if this is true on social media, but this is where I saw it. Scott Detrow said, security person outside the debate just now. Are you here to pick up press credentials? John Hickenlooper, I'm a candidate. If that seriously happened, then that is hilariously awesome. Like, not even the security guys know who John Hickenlooper is. Or, what we like to call him, John Frackenlooper, or, Chicken Pooper, or whatever you want to call him. He's definitely not a friend of progressives. I love how this is like the second stream. It's like they call it the kiddie debate. Although there is, of course, Elizabeth Warren is going to be on there. Tulsi Gabbard's going to be there as well. So that's going to be interesting if they can sort of contrast each other. That's about the only interesting reason to watch that part of the debate. Mike Gravel did not make it into the debates, so it would have been nice to have his voice to see if we can contrast and compare with Tulsi Gabbard, especially in the anti-war stuff. But I do hope Gabbard brings up anti-war sentiments, and I do hope, of course, Elizabeth Warren brings up a lot of her economic policy and really tries to contrast that with the rest of the Democratic field. So that's the stuff that I'm going to be looking forward towards to the debate today. What do you guys think? What are you guys looking forward to hearing answers about in the debate? And don't say climate change, because Tom Perez does not want a debate on climate change. But anyway, okay. God, Tom Perez is such a terrible person. Like, he's so bad at this. And of course, that's the point. All right. So it should be an interesting debate tonight, and I definitely plan to watch it. Okay. Anyway. Those of you who are asking about the kitten, he's sleeping right now. I really don't want to wake him or disturb him. We've been keeping him in the bedroom, right? Away from the other cat, which is much older and much angrier. So she's got territorial issues. So right now we're trying to do like a slow introduction and whatever, so that she doesn't maul his face off. And so, we keep him in the bedroom. At night, like, I'm getting dive bombed in the middle of my sleep. Like, cat dive bombs everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I don't think I got to bed till like 3 o'clock in the morning. So, yay. Yay to kittens. But of course, once he runs out of energy, of course, they crash. And so that's what he's currently doing. I checked on him before the show. he was tuckered right out. So I was like, I don't really want to go and bring him upstairs to the studio and all that stuff, and then have them all be wound up during the show, and then it would just create a lot of problems. So I think I'll probably just skip to social media. I'll take a couple, maybe a video or two, post some pictures, and we'll do that so you guys can get your cat fix. Yes, he really is. He really is cute. Anyway, all right. So let's get to some news. All right. We'll start out with, of course, important stuff when it comes to Trump's records. Oh, and actually, before we get started, first of all, again, I want to thank you for being here. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. And I want to give a special, of course, shout out like I usually do for the patrons. Patreon.com/TYTNation. This is how you can support the show. I want to give a shout out to Alexandria Abrakonovich, Amanda Robertson, Andrew Hardman, Ann Summers, Barbara Sherman, Brian Newton, Ben Adam Johnson, and Callie McLean. So thank you to all those patrons. That's how you can support us. Patreon.com/TYTNation. Also, we do have some pretty cool stuff in the Teespring shop. So there is, if you want some like swag or whatever, TYT Nation shirts, we've got those, or even a mug. The mug's kind of my favorite, although now I have a Medicare for All mug from Bernie Sanders, so that's kind of like my favorite. But like the TYT Nation mug and the Medicare for All mug, they're like my favorites. And if they ever got broke, I would not be happy. So check those out. Teespring store. There's a link in the description of the video if you want to buy something. And it all goes to help TYT Nation, help the show stay on the air. Okay. Anyway. Now with all that stuff, let's get into the stories. All right. Now, Democrats have just been handed a big win in the case against Trump in getting his financial records. Now, this is involved with, of course, the emoluments clause. Now, a federal judge just told the U.S. House and Senate Democrats that they can begin collecting financial evidence this week about Donald Trump's businesses in relation to a lawsuit launched by, of course, Senate and House Democrats to look at the emoluments clause. Now, this decision to allow this to go forward was made by Judge Emmett Sullivan of the U.S. District Court in Washington. Now, they denied an attempt by the Justice Department to prevent the Democrats from collecting this information from the Trump Organization. I've got a quote from a spokeswoman from the Department of Justice later on. We'll talk about that. But Sullivan had said the group of more than 200 members can now begin collecting evidence from June 28th through late September. So in a couple of days, we're going to have Donald Trump's financial evidence or financial, and business ties exposed. Democrats are going to be able to look through that. It won't be exposed to the public, but it will be accessible to members of Congress. And I have to make sure to, of course, make that distinction. Now, what kind of evidence are we talking about? Well, again, financial records for the Trump Organization itself. Now, I've said all along, you want to find something damning on Donald Trump, go through his business records, go through his financials, right? I think, for one, it would prove that he's not as rich as he claims if you actually look at his financials. And look, we already have a snapshot of that where some of his tax records had been leaked. And it was from a period of about 10 years. It showed that Donald Trump had lost over $1 billion. I mean, $1 billion. He's $1 billion loser. How does somebody lose that much, especially when you're investing in casinos? Doesn't the House always win? I don't quite understand how someone could be that bad at business and still have money. Now, of course, the reality, as it's been revealed before, is that a lot of his money came from, of course, his family and the basically Trump empire that he inherited after his dad passed away. He got over $400 million. So, and how much of it has he squandered from his dad's fortune? A lot of it. So we'll find out how much, hopefully, when we, if we ever get to look at those records. Which, look, the Democrats, I've got some thoughts on the Democrats doing this, but if they find those records, I really hope that they will be leaked. Now, it could also show evidence of course, tax fraud. Like, for example, what we've seen from those tax documents, deflating the worth of your assets. And this comes from, of course, Deutsche Bank, when Trump tried to get loans from Deutsche Bank, and he actually did. In fact, Deutsche Bank was the only place that would actually loan him any money because he kept on losing it from everywhere else. He was basically untouchable by every other bank except for Deutsche Bank, which, by the way, Deutsche Bank is known as the laundromat of the world. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe it's money laundering. But anyway, onto the tax fraud here. He deflated the worth of his assets when it came to taxes, but then inflated them when he tried to get a loan from Deutsche Bank. So that's really important. And then, of course, like I said, there is the possibility that he did money laundering, possibly for the Russians and maybe for other people as well. And so who knows, right? And of course, real estate is one of those businesses, those industries that see a lot of money laundering because you're dealing with such high sums of money, right? And now, of course, the main reason Democrats say they're doing this is because of his refusal to to present his business holdings to Congress, so that at least we know that there's no foreign entanglements. And of course, that's what the emoluments clause is about. Not only that, but his continued business holdings, they say, violate the constitutional anti-corruption section known as the emoluments clause, which says elected officials cannot collect proceeds from foreign powers. Now, look, Donald Trump does not just have business interests in America. He's got business interests in a lot of different countries. Trump International Hotels. His financial records, I believe, will show that he does profit off foreign countries. He takes that money and he puts it right into his pocket. And that's why, of course, the whole reason we have the emoluments clause is to encourage presidents to divest from their businesses. President Trump decided to not do that. He's like, oh, that's cute. Divest from your business. Why would I ever do that? Why would I ever stop making money from my businesses when I'm in power? Conflicts of interest. I'm all about conflicts of interest. I love the conflicts of interest. Keep pouring money into my pocket, please. I will open it right up for you. Now, let me give you some more information here. This is from the Wall Street Journal. And this is on, of course, his what the organization is trying to do to head this off. The Trump Organization said that his D.C. hotel, the Trump International, is donating profits from business from foreign governments to the U.S. Treasury. Now, they point out that in February they sent a check for $191,538 to the Treasury, a sum that it says covered those profits in 2018. So that's almost $200,000 in profits from Trump International Hotel. Now, is that really what they made in profits? Well, without the financial records, we don't really know. That's why we're getting the financial records, but they're saying, oh, no, you don't need the financial records because trust us. We're telling you the truth. Oh, why would we ever lie to you? I wonder, could it be that the president who runs the organization has lied like over 100,000 times? It might have something to do with the fact that he's a pathological liar. And of course, likes to hide his money. And so we don't know if that is how much profit they made. We don't know if they're being legitimate. If it is true that this was the amount of profit, for one, it's kind of sad. And for two, good. I'd give them credit for being transparent and honest and open. But unfortunately, we don't know without those financial records, and they don't want to be transparent and open about it, and they don't want to let us see these financials. I mean, if you're going to be in business, then you should be open and transparent while you're in the presidency, because again, you've got those conflicts of interest. Now, critics pointed out that the organization has provided no transparency, as I mentioned, on how it calculates profits. In addition, they said the policy applies only to Trump International, not of any of Mr. Trump's other properties, including resorts and golf clubs. So no Mar-a-Lago, I'm assuming, which, by the way, Mar-a-Lago, if I recall correctly, they have hosted numerous foreign dignitaries. So that money, I mean, does go back into his pocket. But look, here's the thing, right? We know Trump is in it for himself. We know that he's pocketing as much money as possible from his presidency. He doesn't care where it comes from. Now, I don't think he's in the tank for a foreign country, but I do think he's basically in it for himself. Would he take foreign money and put it into his own pocket? Of course he would. That's who Donald Trump is. He doesn't care where the money comes from, as long as it goes to him. Now, what's sad about that is Donald Trump now has the Department of Justice that is fighting to keep his financials a secret so he can continue to make money off the presidency. Let me give you a statement here from a Justice Department spokeswoman. She says, quote, "This case should have been dismissed. It presents important questions that warrant immediate appellate review and is another impractical attempt to disrupt and distract the president from his official duties." Oh, you're trying to distract him from doing his job by actually asking where he gets his money. How dare you try to hold the president accountable? Don't you know that this president is 100% above the law? That you can't even ask if he is getting money from foreign governments and therefore could have a conflict of interest when it comes to doing what's best for America? I thought he ran on America first. Well, if he's getting money from Saudi Arabia or Russia or wherever, well, then that would appear to have a conflict of interest where he might not be doing what's best for the American people. I think we deserve to know. We deserve to know. But look, we have a criminal in the White House. Again, I think he gets foreign money. He refused to divest from his businesses. They made Jimmy Carter sell his peanut farm. I mean, and he couldn't, and Donald Trump couldn't even divest from his business. Not only that, but he may have engaged in money laundering, tax fraud. He's also obstructed an official investigation into himself. I mean, what more do you need? And this brings me to the Democrats, right? So now that the Democrats may get access to these records, and of course I say may because the administration does obviously plan to appeal this and drag this out in court as much as possible. I think right now their entire plan is to run out the clock. Now, but say they are able to get access to these records, right? What are you going to do? You get the records, you find out potential crimes, you find out that there's weird deposits of large sums of money going through Trump's account from foreign sources. What are you going to do about it? That's the question, right? Now, Nancy Pelosi, according to CNN, she said, "No one is above the law." This is on a statement about this. "Not even the president. Once again, the courts have resoundingly reaffirmed our efforts to hold the president accountable for corruption and ensure that the president acts in the public interest, not his own interest." So that's Pelosi, right? But here's the thing, though. You're asking for the records, and now you're going to potentially gain access to these records, and you're going to be able to look at it, right? Okay, what comes afterwards? Getting the records isn't holding the president accountable. If something illegal is found, doing something about it, that's what holding the president accountable is about. The thing is that Nancy Pelosi has already said, "I'm not going to impeach President Trump." No. We're just going to leave it to the voters to decide. Well, you have abdicated your responsibility if that's the case. And by refusing to impeach the president. Again, he's already been found to have violated the law. He has 2 felonies, obstruction of justice. Okay, whatever you find in your financials, if you refuse to impeach now, when he's done significant crime, what will you impeach him on? Is there anything you won't let him get away with? No, to me, this is like this. Again, I want to see what these records hold. I want to see what else Donald Trump is involved in, right? But if you're not going to do anything about it, then what's the point? What's the point? Look, my only guess here is that she's copying the Republican playbook. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, Republicans, if you remember, during the Obama administration, they did investigation after investigation after investigation, right? Benghazi, right? Like nine different investigations, I think, in the House. Each one of them found that President Obama did nothing wrong. Did they still scream about impeaching him? All the time. Did they still scream about removing him, about how he's a criminal? Yes, they did. But you know what? That energized their base, and it let them raise a lot of money. So Nancy Pelosi looks at that and says, I bet I could raise a lot of money off Donald Trump. Do these investigations, make it look like we're doing something, and then we raise a lot of money, but we still don't hold them accountable because that actually involves political courage and will. Well, and I don't have any of that. I don't have political courage. Oh, no way. Get that away from me, right? No, I'm not actually going to do something about his criminality. No, I'm just going to raise money off the specter of Donald Trump because it's worked so incredibly well. And whether or not we win doesn't really matter because the Democratic Party right now is made up of consultants, overpaid consultant class, and, of course, Democrats in safe districts. And so they get paid no matter what. And so, again, what is the point? Now, of course, there is a big difference between Obama, what the Republicans did to Obama and what the Democrats are doing to Donald Trump. Obama wasn't a criminal. Donald Trump is a criminal. And the more they probe into him, the more they keep finding actual crime. So the thing is, you can actually continue to use that to raise money. Because, for one, he is an actual criminal, and people know that. And I would like to say Democrats are a lot smarter than Republicans on this one. And so at some point, she's either going to have to do something or admit that this is all a cynical ploy to raise money. It's, that saying, crap or get off the pot. And so what's she going to do? I don't know. But we'll have to find out. Okay. So there's my cynicism. Okay. Moving on. No, that is not the right sidebar, guys. What happened to the order here? Let me just change that real quick. There we go. And there we go. Technical difficulties, folks. But we're good to go. Okay. Now, President Trump recently went on the attack against his own Federal Reserve chairman. That's Jerome Powell. And this happened during an interview with Fox Business's Maria Bartiromo. And I want to show you this video. Take a look.
And they have Draghi, who is, we should have Draghi instead of our Fed person.
Yeah.
Draghi, as you know, last week he said lower interest rates and we're going to stimulate the economy. They're going to put money into the economy. They're going to force money into the economy because Europe is doing, okay, but they're not doing great. And with us, we have a Fed that keeps raising interest rates. I mean, you explained that one. And this was not what I thought we had. Not only are we raising, I've had 9 interest rate hikes. Obama had nothing. He had cheap money. So my economy is far better than Obama's economy. Obama's economy was ready to crash. You couldn't do anything. The rules and regulations, which I've gotten rid of, I have great rules and regulations, but they're reasonable. Under Obama, you couldn't do anything. You couldn't do a Keystone pipeline. You couldn't do anything.
Right. Well, the
EPA
regulations
had the whole country. Right. Yeah. But Maria, now we're really rocking and rolling. My problem is that as they reduce their currency in order to take advantage of the United States, we have a man that doesn't do anything for us.
Yeah.
We're sitting there and we stay. He should have never raised the rates to the level that he raised them.
Well, he said he's not going to get pushed around by political. He said, he basically suggested yesterday, I'm not going to get pushed around.
He's trying to prove how tough he is because he's not going to get pushed around.
Yeah.
He's a guy, nobody ever heard of him before, and now I made him, and he wants to show how tough he is. Okay, let him show how tough he is. He's not doing a good job.
Wow. Did they ever talk about business on Fox Business? I know this supposedly was a discussion on interest rates. And by the way, Draghi, right? So let me just give you some context here. Mario Draghi is the president of the European Central Bank, right? So now the situation in Europe is different than in America. America kind of has, we have the reserve currency. And they have a different financial situation in Europe than we do actually in America. So he's like, no, let's do what Europe does. Let's do what Draghi does and print lots of money and inflate the economy, right? By cutting interest rates. Well, look, what might work in Europe, it's going to work here. Okay? But first, look, I loved through this entire interview, and if you watch it, he just continuously just steamrolls over Maria Bartiromo. It's hilarious. But overall, this is what happens, right? Like Jerome Powell was chosen by Donald Trump because Donald Trump thought he's going to do whatever I want. And now what Donald Trump wants is to continue cutting interest rates. But I want more cheap money. I need more cheap money. Why is that? Well, because it inflates values. Now, I'm going to explain. And look, but first, the reason that, of course, they're not doing the rate cuts is because it'd be stupid. And number two, the Federal Reserve is actually showing that they're independent than with the government, right? They're showing that independence. But why is Trump demanding these rate cuts? He believes, because he just said it, that the stock market, and by the way, he's using the Dow Jones Industrial Average to make this this decision, right? He said it would be 10,000 points higher if Powell were not the chairman of the Federal Reserve and if he would continue to cut rates. 10,000 points. What, did you just pull that out of the air? Like, where did you pull that number out of? It'd be 10,000 points higher. I mean, again, okay, so say Jerome Powell wasn't part of the Fed, right? And they put in someone else. Would that other person also cut interest rates? Would they funnel Donald Trump? Well, if they actually know what they're doing, they would not. Now, look, I'm no economist, right? But normally, the time that you would cut interest rates is when the economy is bad in order to try to help boost investment, right? Now, that would seem to be at odds with what he said before, that the economy is, we're doing great, right? We're rocking and rolling. But wait a minute, if we're rocking and rolling, then why do you need to keep interest rates low? Look, that just allows, of course, companies to borrow incredibly cheap money. Now, who benefits from borrowing incredibly cheap money? Oh, right, people like Donald Trump and his businesses. See, that's what this is about. Of course it is. But he says that keeping interest rates low is going to boost the economy, boost the stock market. In reality, it would boost profits for companies that do, for example, construction and building projects, real estate. Again, like Donald Trump. But he also thinks that the stock market, of course, represents the entire economy. As he said before, the stock market is great. We're doing tremendous in the stock market. But that's not the entire economy. And that's the mistake that, look, not just Donald Trump makes, but a lot of people make, actually. They say, oh, if the stock market is strong, that means the economy is strong. No. I mean, look, if you have investments, like, for example, 401ks, and you have a good stock market, well, then, okay, maybe you are doing pretty good then. But if you don't have those, like millions of Americans, then you're not going to see any improvement in your situation. I mean, look at the, job numbers, for example. So job numbers, Donald Trump can come in and he says, and can say, and he actually has said, that job numbers are great. Oh, man, again, unemployment, so very, very low, right? Okay, well, that's just a continuation from the Obama years, right? And so it hasn't really seen a bump from Trump's tax cuts or anything that he's done. It's just a natural progression. And now, of course, Donald Trump goes and takes credit for that progression and says, oh, me. No, but you barely did anything. You cut taxes for yourself and corporations from 35 to 21%, which, drastically cut government revenue, increased deficits, etc. Which, by the way, I thought the deficit was, you talk to right-wingers during the Obama years. The deficit, it's strangling businesses. No, it's actually not. Not at all. But anyway, no, this has been steady, right? And look, you've had some wage increases, right? But of course, wage increases have barely just outpaced inflation. We're not necessarily losing ground. We're not really gaining a whole lot of ground either. I think for the majority of Americans, we're still seeing wages fairly flat, fairly stagnant, while, of course, a lot of this wealth concentrates at the top. Now, the result of the Trump tax cuts, as I continue to explain over and over and over again, is that it all went to the wealthy. They ended up buying back their own stocks. They put money back into their own pockets. They didn't raise wages. In fact, some executives have pointed out, like, no, if you don't understand, we can't give that money to our workers because our shareholders expect bigger returns. So we're just going to take that money that we save from taxes and give it to our shareholders. It's not going to go to the employees. In fact, we're incentivized to not give it to our employees. Now, what happens when you have all these stock buybacks? Well, you end up having, of course, an artificial inflation in stock values. They're not creating more value. They're not worth more. The company's not doing better. No, it's just executive stock prices are just inflated. It becomes a bubble. They're not sharing that profit with the workers. Now, that, of course, has bad implications and will actually turn out quite badly. As CNBC explains, the problem with that is that artificial pumping stock values to lofty heights without a corresponding increase in earnings would pose a significant risk to the economy. And they point out how the last time stock prices were really high as what Donald Trump is trying to get the Dow Jones average up to, which is about 4,000, the market collapsed and the economy fell into recession. Why? It's because we had a gigantic speculative bubble that ended up bursting. Again, I'm not an economist, so I can't say for sure, but I think that I know enough that when an economy becomes too top-heavy, as ours have, that it tends to fall over. I mean, have we learned nothing from the Bush era, where we gave giant tax cuts for the rich, and by the way, allowed them to repatriate a ton of money at very, very low tax rates, which is what the Trump administration did again, and it had no impact on job creation. In fact, it had a negative impact. The more that you look into it, the more jobs were shed after tax cuts, after these crazy repatriation, right? I mean, Bush era, we gave giant tax cuts. In the Clinton era, we did deregulation of the banks. What did we get for our efforts? A short-term sugar high where some people at the top made a ton of money, and then a global financial recession. And of course, these banks got bailed out by the taxpayer. But I guess Donald Trump's not exactly worried about that because either he's literally too stupid to realize it or he doesn't care because if the Fed cut interest rates, then he can borrow money. His businesses can borrow money from the Federal Reserve much more cheaply than before. And I think when you're looking at Donald Trump, when you're looking at the baby in the White House, you realize all he cares about is himself and his own wealth. That is the sad, sad reality of the Trump administration. Okay. We'll come back. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We have the Duncan Hunter story and then the Wayfair walkout, which is super cool. So we'll come back with those stories. Stay right here. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. And leave your comments, questions, super chats, etc. And we'll get right back to them right after this break. Around the Nation. Welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here. Jeff Waldorf here with you. Okay, got some fun comments from you guys that I want to read. First, let's go to the super chat by Jedi Mullet. Who says, Pelosi only cares about her wealth and power. She's the problem and must be kicked out of public service. Don't worry. she'd make money on speaking fees. Right on pretty much all counts. She's definitely one of the problems. And look, the Republicans are obviously one of the problems, right? But I think the bigger problem is complicit Democrats. Republicans wouldn't have a leg to stand on. They wouldn't have help. They wouldn't be so successful if they didn't have the Democratic assistance, which is obviously much different than the resistance, which should be resisting Donald Trump, but for some reason just keep on helping him. Not sure why. But thank you for that, Jedi Mullet. RB points out that Jimmy Carter was an early victim of the Powell Manifesto. Greed trumps the USA. And he urges everybody to check out Carter's address to the nation regarding the growing cancer of greed. And then Eldridge Davis points out, I guess ISIS will eventually get an air force, and Al-Qaeda and Navy, so the increase in military budget can be justified. Or, what if they have a space force? Then we're obviously going to have to give more money to Donald Trump's space force. You matter. Al-Qaeda in space. In space. Okay, anyway, that's enough of that. All right, let's move forward. Let's get some couple more stories in here. Okay. All right. And here we go. That's a great. Yep. I think that is probably super unacceptable, but it is what it is. Okay. Anyway. Now, Republican Duncan Hunter is a man who ran on family values. Well, now he is being charged with illegally using campaign contributions to finance numerous extramarital affairs with lobbyists and in congressional aides. Yeah. Okay. Now, stunning details about the married congressman's alleged affairs were outlined in a government court filing. Prosecutors took a deep dive into his life and found some very disturbing things. Now, according to those prosecutors, the congressman had spent thousands of dollars on 5 different women that he was engaged in alleged affairs with. Now, those women were either all lobbyists or congressional staffers. Now, I know the saying, the politicians are, of course, they're in bed with the lobbyists, right? Well, Duncan Hunter just made it literal. Wow. Okay. Now, Hunter's donors, according to CNN, unknowingly paid for drinks, food, a ski vacation, a road trip to the beach, and hotel stays with the 5 different women that he was seeing on the side. Okay, first of all, who's got time for that? To be married and then have 5 side chicks. How does that happen? How do you have time for that? Aren't you supposed to be representing, like, your constituents? Are you actually supposed to be doing things? That's amazing. Okay, more. They also paid for the Uber rides, the campaign contributors, that he would take from the women's homes after hooking up with them. In one case, prosecutors said that Mr. Hunter was romantically involved with a lobbyist and began staying at her home while occasionally spending campaign funds for food and beverages. Now, another case that they pointed out was when Mr. Hunter flew to Reno, Nevada in January 2010, ostensibly to attend a convention for a nonprofit group. After a brief stop at the convention, Mr. Hunter and the lobbyist headed towards a ski resort near Lake Tahoe, where they spent the weekend skiing and ordering room service. Prosecutors said Mr. Hunter used campaign funds to rent the car, paid for the hotel tab, and for a flight back to Washington. The document said that the intimate nature of these relationships is an essential element of the crimes charged in the indictment. And that's, of course, why we get into Duncan Hunter's dirty laundry. Look, I don't really care the fact that he had 5 different mistresses, right? Other than the fact, of course, that it's pretty hypocritical when you call yourself a pro-family values Republican. But generally, I don't really care about somebody's personal life. but he is using campaign contributions. Now, at the same time, for the big donors, the big corporations, whatever, that donate to Duncan Hunter's campaign, defense contractors, health insurance companies, I do not cry for them, right? I don't shed a tear for those giant corporations. Go ahead and, hey, you gave your money to Duncan Hunter so he can waste it on his affairs. It was a sad day for you. I don't care. But if you're a Republican donor, like just a regular person who thinks, oh man, Duncan Hunter, he's going to represent me, so I'm going to give him my hard-earned $5, right, from my campaign. He spit in your face. He's laughing at you. You gave me that money. I just spent it on margaritas for, one of my mistresses. Ha ha, you're a sucker. I mean, look, that's what he's saying to all of you. If you're a donor to Duncan Hunter, then you just got screwed. There's more. In another incident in 2015, Hunter allegedly took a House leadership aide out for cocktails and then took an Uber back to his office after they spent the night together. Both expenses were charged to the campaign account. Now, the filing also says that Hunter, who has developed a reputation on Capitol Hill for drinking heavily and carousing, used campaign money to pursue, quote, clearly non-work-related activity during get-togethers with close personal friends. Now, prosecutors declined to elaborate further, saying that the sensitive conduct could, quote, potentially taint the jury pool. Well, look, that wouldn't be the only pool that apparently Duncan Hunter has tainted. So, look, again, he's spending the donor money, right? Again, if you're a Republican donor, you should be irate about this. He used it to cheat on his wife. And I think if you're a fiscal conservative, right, he used it to maintain a lifestyle that was clearly beyond his means. Prosecutors described the couple so mired in debt that they had less than $1,000 in their bank account between the years 2009 and 2017. They owed money to stores like Macy's and Home Depot. They also had begun falling behind on their children's tuition payments and had missed numerous mortgage payments. But you know what? Thank goodness for that donor money to help them continue to keep up their lifestyle, which included flying their pet rabbit cross country. That is a real story. That is a thing that actually happened. He's just wasting your money, and he's laughing about it. I mean, whatever happened to personal responsibility? These people were living way outside their means, and they had no personal responsibility. They were not responsible with their money. And you want to talk about millennials getting coffee or eating avocado toast? This guy is flying pet rabbits across the country and then throwing a whole bunch of money at 5 different women that he's having sex with, allegedly. I mean, come on, man. Now, not only this, it gets better, okay? So now, when some of this investigations started cropping up and started troubling Mr. Hunter, he decided that he was going to throw his wife under the bus. Now, this is what he said in August of last year when confronted.
Well, I'm saying when I went to Iraq in 2003, the first time I gave her power of attorney, and she handled my finances throughout my entire military career, and that continued on when I got into Congress, because I'm gone 5 days a week, I'm home for 2. So, and she was also the campaign manager. So whatever she did on that'll be looked at too, I'm sure. But I didn't do it. I didn't spend any money illegally. I did not use campaign money, especially for Wounded Warrior stuff. There's no way.
Maybe not for Wounded Warrior stuff, but maybe for butt stuff. Just saying. Or whatever stuff that you were into with your 5 different mistresses. No judging, just saying. Well, actually, I am judging that you were using other people's money to do it. Now, look, so now he blames her, right? And then it comes out later that he cheated on his wife. So now, of course, what's his wife going to do? She's going to obviously be 100% irate. So now, Margaret Hunter recently pleaded guilty this month to 1 corruption count and then agreed to testify against her husband. Uh-oh. Oh, that's going to be fun, right? So now what does Hunter say? Well, of course, it's a partisan political witch hunt, right? He says, quote, "This is all going to trial. So you have criminally political prosecutors in this case. This is a personal smear campaign." He added, "I'm not going to talk about the allegations. We're going to trial. And I look forward to battling this out in trial." Okay, let's go to trial. Let it all come out. Look, so now he's facing some serious charges, right? This is about 60 criminal charges, including conspiracy, theft of campaign money, and wire fraud. So there's a possibility that he could face some serious prison time. Seems to be in a little bit of trouble, not the very least with his wife. Right? Again, not light charges. Yet, even while he was under investigation for this stuff, Republicans still voted him in. Now, isn't that amazing? It's unbelievable. Then again, between Donald Trump and Duncan Hunter, Republicans apparently love to support alleged criminals, con artists, and adulterers. So much for being pro-family and pro-following the law. Man. Okay. Let's go to Wayfair walkout. Right now, employees of the online retailer Wayfair have decided to walk out. Now, they have walked out in protest of the company selling furniture to the government to be used in migrant detention facilities. Now, Wayfair employees apparently had learned last week about an order for $200,000 worth of bedroom furniture had been placed by the global nonprofit BCFS. Now, BCFS operates migrant facilities for the Department of Health and Human Services. So they are basically buying these, or supplying these furniture items for your concentration camps at the border. Oh, wonderful. And now, again, when they found out, these employees, more than 500 employees actually, decided to send a letter to senior management over the weekend. Now, they asked the company to no longer do business with BCFS. They also asked Wayfair to establish a code of ethics that, quote, empowers Wayfair and its employees to act in accordance with our core values. They said, quote, the United States government and its contractors are responsible for the detention and mistreatment of hundreds of thousands of migrants seeking asylum in our country. We want that to end. We also want to be sure that Wayfair has no part in enabling, supporting, or profiting from this practice. Now, those are strong words. These are when the employees, again, of their own recognizance, they could not take it once they found out what this was going to. Now, that's amazing. For one, that's amazing solidarity, right? All the workers standing with each other against something that is so deeply morally wrong as supplying, these immigrant concentration camps. That they get together and they put their careers basically in jeopardy, their jobs in jeopardy, right? Now, Wayfair had responded to this originally. They said, as a retailer, it's standard practice to fulfill orders for all customers, and we believe it's our business to sell to any customer who is acting within the laws of the countries within which we operate. This does not indicate support for the opinions or actions of the groups or individuals who purchase from us. Now, the workers also are asking the company that if they make any money from this, to donate all profits from the sale to of the furniture to RAICES. That's a nonprofit that reunites families at the border. Now, that amount totals about $86,000, according to an unverified Twitter account that broadcast news about the walkout. So now, Wayfair, since this is now happening, right? Now, Wayfair has then responded a couple of hours ago by announcing a donation to the Red Cross. Well, no, wait a minute. The Red Cross has nothing to do with the border, has nothing to do with any of this. In fact, walkout organizers say just that. No, you should donate to something that actually helps these immigrants, not to the Red Cross. So, again, that is another massive misstep on the part of Wayfair. This is going to be a PR nightmare and a disaster, and it already is. It's already hurting your business. In fact, there's a lot of people that are calling this out now that include Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She called the walkout, quote, this is what solidarity looks like. She said Wayfair workers couldn't stomach that they were making beds to cage children. They asked the company's CEO to stop. CEO said no. Tomorrow they're walking out. That's what happened yesterday. This is what solidarity looks like, a reminder that everyday people have real power as long as we're brave enough to use it. Now, it's not just AOC. Elizabeth Warren also spoke out, as well as many others. And the Wayfair customers have also picked up on this. Searching Wayfair on Twitter, for example, brings up almost exclusively negative sentiments about the company. You go to their Facebook page, of course, it shows mostly negative comments related to the situation. One tweet, of course, said, "I'm done shopping from Wayfair unless they want to change their policy on furnishing concentration camps." Now, Wayfair, the summer collection, according to one Facebook comment, said, or better known as the concentration camp chic, wrote one customer. Another one tweeted, "Just read this after making a purchase from Wayfair from my 5-year-old's room, no less. I'm canceling the order and won't buy from you anymore unless this is addressed." So this is a couple of examples of the social media backlash when it comes to this situation. Look, and again, this is a no-win situation for this company. If you're going to profit off the detention of children, well, that's not good. Now, they did say, well, we're not profiting. We're just going to give it to, we're going to give it to the Red Cross. Not quite good enough, right? And so, look, I mean, it's better than just profiting that money, but at the same, or pocketing that money, but at the same time, they're still getting the beds to and the furniture to house these immigrant children, and it's not going to anything to help reunite migrant families. So again, you're stuck in kind of a no-win situation. That said, the kids do need beds. I'm just saying. Okay, why not? Okay, compromise situation, right? So now, okay, donate to the Red Cross. You know what you should also do? Just donate the beds themselves. That's it. And then put out a statement that says, we don't condone these detention centers. However, because of the situation, and I've talked about this a lot, the situation, the conditions inside of these camps, that these children deserve beds and other supplies. Now, look, there have been people trying to donate these supplies that have been turned down by the federal government. So, I mean, at least you could try to make an effort, but already the damage seems to be done. And they handled this so incredibly badly. Now, for the employees, huge props and special recognition. Again, risking their jobs, their rent, sometimes their food, just to show that it's not okay to make money off supporting the detention of minors. So I have 100% solidarity with these Wayfair walkout workers. And hopefully it can continue to try to spur other companies to do the right thing instead of the wrong thing. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that story. I think these workers are great. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Really important. Please like and share the clips, too, that come out. Very important that this gets through, of course, you guys. So now what's important is if you like and share this content and you watch it, that increases the chance of more people being able to watch and share because it puts it in the recommended. We have not been getting a lot of great views as of late. And so it's important for you guys, subscribers especially, to watch that content to help it get out to the rest of the people. So very important that you do that. That's why sharing is like one of the most important things you can have, that you can do. All right, guys. Thank you. That's the show. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll have another great show for you guys today. The debate's tonight, so make sure to tune in for that. And we'll see you later. And remember, love you guys, and change begins with you. Good night, nation. See y'all tomorrow.